Looks like I am live. Good evening, America. Good evening, planet Earth. I am Dana, the Angry Citizen, coming to you live from Brewer, Maine. It is August 17th, Saturday, and it's 7:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I have a really powerful group of people waiting in the wings to talk to you. And I'm super excited about having these people together. Any one of them alone would be, and two of them have been, worthy guests with whom I've done podcasts before. But the three of them and my newest guest, very excited to meet her because she is speaking some very powerful truth about our constitutional republic. So before I begin, I just want to say a shout out to my sponsor. My sponsor is The Flame USA. This is a newspaper, as you can see, an actual physical newspaper. You can look at it. You can hand it to someone else. No one can come along and stamp it that you're not allowed to read it. So there's no censorship here, brothers and sisters. You want to know what people have to say? Are you smart enough to make up your own mind, or do you need an overlord to tell you what's true and what isn't, so you won't accidentally make bad decisions and kill your entire family? I happened to write an article for this particular one, I'm very proud of, about my friend Scott Shara. His daughter Grace, that's Grace, was murdered in a hospital. You'll have to subscribe if you want to read it. Some of my best work. And shout out to you, Scott. His website is ouramazinggrace.net. And you're going to go there and read it. You will be heartbroken. You will weep because they murdered this man's daughter. He's fighting back. He's not taking this lying down. He's going to hold him accountable. And I am totally supportive of him. So The Flame is theflameusa.net. And you can get a subscription there for an actual physical copy, if you wish, of the paper. But you can also get a digital edition, and that is super, super cheap at $1.99. So everyone in America should do this. Cost you $2. It's well worth it. No censorship. Read it for yourself. Make up your own minds. I've written some articles for them, including the one I just mentioned. I'm going to be writing more articles for them. And you can actually examine some of the options there yourself for getting it in quantity if you want to do that. And we are always looking for advertisers. So if you know anyone that would like to advertise, get them in touch with me. I'm helping out the girls at The Flame by doing that because I love them and they're absolutely forging the way for the truth. And believe me, folks, the truth is the sword of God and it's coming. So now, before I bring on my guests, I want to let you know that when I encountered my first guest, which I'm going to bring her in a second, I watched a video, and the video is so good and so perfect that I don't even want to talk about the stuff that she talked about in that video, because the best thing you can do is go watch the video for yourself. I'm going to put the link in the comments. It's an absolute eye-opening. The author described it as jaw-dropping, and I'm going to definitely agree with that assessment. And it talks about our constitutional republic, and the republic may not mean what you think it means. And so this is worth a little time and energy to research. So I will post this here. We're going to not talk about a lot of the stuff in there. We're going to talk about other things, but I would strongly recommend that you all go ahead and click on that link when you have an opportunity. Watch the interview, the full interview. It's amazing. The guy that is interviewing her, he goes by SG Anand. And I'm going to shout out to you because you did a great interview. He really let her talk. He wasn't interrupting her, constantly peppering her with questions. She was organized, meticulous, fantastic. So highly recommend. So having said that, I want to bring my first guest on. She is the name I use a little long. U.S. Air Force Lieutenant Colonel retired Dr. Sandy Miarecki, Ph.D. And welcome. Thank you for coming. I know you have a little bit of a delay, so I'm going to just give you a moment to speak and say whatever you want to say in introduction, then we'll bring in my other guests. So welcome.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored to be here. I appreciate that greatly. I'm just happy to be here. So let's just go with it, flow, and see where we end up.
Excellent. All right. Thank you. So I would have been very honored to have you here alone. But again, I have two guests joining me, both of whom I've known for a while. I consider them close friends, both of them deeply knowledge of the law, history, the Constitution, and alone, either one powerful, together even more so. The first one I want to bring in is my buddy. His name is Clyde Cleveland. He's the author of Common Sense Revisited and the author of Restoring the Heart of America. And to the first 3 people that contact me or post a request in the comment, I will send you for free this audio copy of Common Sense Revisited. It's really good. It's a good listen, and I have one myself, but I'm going to keep it. So first 3 of you get one for free. Welcome, my friend, my brother, my ally, Clyde Cleveland.
Thank you. It's really an honor to be on with you and Sandy and Ananda. So I'm really glad to be here tonight.
Having mentioned Ananda, let's bring her in. So I've known Ananda for a while. She is with the group called the Americans in Action, and we've been working together in many capacities, worked on getting the sheriffs together. We were organizing sheriffs conferences nationally. She has an amazing knowledge of the law and the history of the Constitution, and I'm super glad to have her as a friend and an ally, and woe be to the dark forces, because altogether we're pretty powerful. So Ananda, welcome. It's good seeing you again.
Thank you. You as well, Dana. What a warm welcome. Thank you so much.
Well
Want
deserved.
y'all to know, Christos says hello, Dana. Christos says hello, Sandy. Christos says hello, Clyde. He sends his love and his blessing over this divine roundtable, and it's just an honor to be here.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Awesome. So glad you could join us.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I gave a lot of thought to what a fortunate circumstance, and how fortunate for me to be able to have this confluence of powerful minds and be aligned in our purpose, and how to make the best use of this time. And Ananda and Clyde are very familiar with one of my own sort of crusades has been to teach America their rights, because what happens is we don't know our rights. We don't know how to deal with authority figures, policy enforcers, also known as police officers, law enforcement, judges. What do you do in court? Any person that goes into court, you're in a completely foreign land with all sorts of tricks and traps, and we don't know, how do we defend ourselves? There's actually a law, I was told, that requires us to teach children about the law and the Constitution from an early age. And I do believe that is, in fact, probably correct, but we don't. And that's not an accident. So to go back to the core of everything, we go back to when America was founded. And when we were founded, and our founding fathers were putting this together, and yes, they were not all perfect. Okay, there was a bit of infighting and so forth, adultery and whatever, but they did, in fact, ally themselves to attempt to create a much better form of government, a government by the people, for the people, which we all know of as democracy, but that's not actually correct. What we should be using is the correct term, which is the constitutional republic. And the republic is the phrase that we are going to discuss primarily here. And I'm going to start with you, Sandy, because your discussions in the video, and again, I linked it, folks, go watch the video, were very compelling and interesting regarding the state of our republic. So can you start there and kind of bring us up to date in a similar way of what you said in that interview I'm referencing, and get us started on that, please?
All right. Sure. I can go into as much detail as you want, but let's start off with a summary first, and then we'll work into it, because everyone can watch, several other interviews and get some of the details. But the main thing that we're hearing right now from all the patriots is, we have to save our republic. We have to save our republic. And I keep saying, we already did. You just have to ask for it back. You have to want it back and work for it. So we all are pretty much familiar, I think, the folks that are on here, with the idea that we lost our republic in somewhere around the Civil War to 1871 timeframe. And that was with the Organic Act of 1871 was absolutely the end. And so what they had essentially done was they had taken all of the seats, all the people, senators, president, all of those, just imagine that, moving all over into some new seats in a corporation called USA Incorporated. And so what happened to these seats over here? The original republic, senators, House, president, vice president, cabinet, the whole thing. Well, the patriots, just like us, figured out those seats were just vacated. That was just abandoned. It was just sitting there gathering dust. And so what they did was they started to reseat that. And in fact, they were encouraged by the military, good guys, who were coming to them and saying, we need you to do this by April 1st of back in the Civil War of 2010, April 1st of 2010. because of some sort of executive order from Bush Sr. May or may not even be a public executive order. I mean, executive orders are just fraud, all of them. So anyways, they said, we got to restore the republic by then. And so all they needed to do was get the basic majority of the states reseated. And that's what they did. They hustled their buns and they got it all done. And then the momentum was so huge, they were able to reseat even more. And they were putting in, following the Northwest Ordinance as the guide, because essentially we had abandoned our states. They now kind of reverted to territories. And so with that, how can we reseat this government as lawfully and constitutionally as possible using our founding documents? And this is what they came up with. They said, this is the best way we've come up with. So what does the Northwest Ordinance say? A governor, 2 senators, a House of Representatives, 3 justices, and a Secretary of State. So 8 basic people. And they started to reseat all these. Now, these were all being appointed, or volunteers were just standing up at the time. At the same time, assemblies were standing up in the states. So in the counties, you got your county assemblies. That's we the people. Then they would elect or appoint folks that would go to the state assembly, and then they would then appoint or elect the other representatives. And so that's how they reseated the states. Once we had the super majority that was required for kind of like a convention of states, but not, it was similar enough anyway, then they were able to sign what was called a Declaration of Sovereign Intent in November of 2010. Of course, they met the April 1st deadline, or right now we would all be surrounded by United Nations because we would be under what's called a suzerainty. And of course, they beat that. That was what Bush's thing said would happen. Because there was no government on this land, the United Nations would come in and settle it, I guess, was whatever you want to call it. So suzerainty. So now they've got the Declaration of Sovereign Intent. That was November of 2010, and it just kept growing and growing from there. Well, it became a threat to the corporation because they then noticed the governors and said, hey, we have a de jure constitutional republic standing up again, and you need to either join or step aside. There was no answer. And it turned out that that probably was the thing that drew the ire of Obama and Biden in their administration in the 3 letters. And they came in and infiltrated, almost took the republic down from 22 million people down to a couple hundred by the time it was all over with, and they barely were hanging on. We call it the remnant. And so we still have several folks from that time period in the republic. And we are in the process now, after enormous shadow banning, beyond compare, that has finally lessened up enough that our message started to get out. And so people are like, why haven't we ever heard of this before? That's why. But now we're able to get out and speak to people like your audience and let them know what has happened and what is happening. And we're inviting everyone to join their republic. This is your government. We do not have a government. We have a corporation pretending to be our government. And you wonder why they're not following any constitution or laws or, even their own corrupt U.S. codes and policies. They're still not following that either. And that's because everything's optional in a corporation.
Lawless. They are lawless. So, I'm going to take a very short step back from my audience and tell you the concepts that she is describing. The existence of a corporate entity known as the United States of America has been shown. It's proven. That we're not going to get into that too much here, because with the little bit of research you can find out. And the most important thing I can tell you is to stop believing when someone says that person's lying, that person's a fraud, that person's a fake. Don't believe them, because every one of us that's telling you the truth is saying the same thing. We're saying to you, don't take our word for it. We'll show you the information that we have found that shows us that what we're telling you is true. What the enemy says to you is, don't believe that woman. She's crazy. She's a fraud. She's trying to sell books. She's trying to sell skin lotion. She's a scammer. She is anything they can. She's racist. As soon as you talk about the republic, you are racist, extremist, any label they can slap on you to stop your voice. And why? Because they don't want you to know the truth, because the truth is the sword of God. So I want to offer Ananda and Clyde a moment to chime in on this particular concept before we move on, because I know you probably both have something you'd like to add in there. Ananda's waving her eyebrows around. So Ananda, you want to start us out?
Yeah, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled at this topic, and it's so edgy because you know what I like to say, Sandy, is it's divine right timing. When people say, why haven't we heard of this before? Well, it's been a brewing, it's been stirring, but now is divine right timing where the people are actually ready to hear it. They've gone through the tunnel of cognitive dissonance. They've come out the other side. There's former Democrats, Republicans alike coming through and saying, what in the heck is going on here? So the cat's gotten out of the bag. It's not going back in. And now, because of the work that the people from your establishment, that's the Republic for the United States of America, because of the foundation that you've laid, God bless every one of you who've done this. You've laid the foundation so that we know that the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and everything, all of the amendments, everything that was laid out for us by the founding fathers, it was dusty, right? It was dormant, but it wasn't dead. And so what you've done is you grabbed it before it was gone completely, started resuscitating it, and it's together now. All the whistleblowers are coming forth. All the truthers are coming forth. All the lovers of this free republic are coming forth. And we have to admit we've been asleep at the wheel, but we're not anymore. And so now that this beautiful foundation has been laid, now it's time to sound the alarms. Okay, everyone, it's time to wake up, brush yourself off. We're doing this. And it is done. It has been foretold. It has been written. It has been prophesied. And we're all showing up. The seats are being filled. It's happening. And we have some exciting news here in Oregon. They don't require the bar. You don't have to pass the bar to be an attorney. And this is even, in mainstream. So what that tells me is we're going back to the Republic, because it's no more allegiance to the crown. There's no more allegiance to a BAR, British Accredited Registry nonsense. And the corporation is crumbling. So it's happening. We're all in and we're uniting. So it's super exciting. I love that you're doing a roundtable forum, and I can't wait to hear what Clyde has to say on this.
Well, I've been in this for quite some time, since I was in that first group in 2010 and here in Florida. And we had 600 people in the Florida Republic at that time. And we had all the officers. I was a U.S. Senator, elected as a U.S. Senator for Florida. And at that time in my life, my company was doing pretty well, and I had some free time. So I actually went out on the road and had a PowerPoint very similar to Sandy's. And I just went all around the country, both from Florida to California and from Tucson, Nevada, up to northern Minnesota. And I did about probably 15 to 20 presentations and with that PowerPoint and in 2010. And I was just, very, very excited. My background was I had taught Cleon Skousen's constitutional courses to people all through Iowa. I ran for governor of Iowa as a libertarian. Ron Paul endorsed me, endorsed both my books. So I'm very familiar with the Constitution. But what I didn't realize is that we were teaching the Constitution, and the people that were running our country were part of a corporation that could care less about our Constitution. It didn't matter. What I was teaching to everybody didn't really matter, because when they went to court or they went, had a problem with the law, it didn't matter, because they were dealing with a foreign corporation, completely foreign to our Constitution. And so, I learned a lot there, and, now it's so great to have this knowledge coming out in such a way that Sandy's PowerPoint is very, very clear that what we're creating is we're restoring the original Constitution, so it does matter. So all that knowledge does matter. So, you know, and people know about these things. They go to court and they say, you know, well, I have the constitutional right to do this. And these judges nowadays, they'll just say, well, the Constitution doesn't, you know, don't bring up the Constitution in this court.
Doesn't apply.
Literally. So, you know, that's admiralty law. It's a completely different corrupt. It's basically a corporation run by the Rockefellers and Rothschilds and the Council of 300 and the Bilderbergers and the World Economic Forum and on, Club of Rome, and I could go on and on. Those are the people that run the world. And the Council of 300. So those are the people that have been running the world for a long, long time. And we have to take this, we have to re-inhabit this republic and get millions of people to come on board. We had 28 million, Sandy?
22.
22 million people. You know, in 2010, 2011. Now we need to add a zero to that. We need to make that 220 million. And then we'll have our country back.
Amen.
It's
Well said.
happening.
So a couple things very quickly. First of all, I'm going to touch on something that Sandy said in the interview that I've linked in the comments, and also just want to let you know I did put the links to both of your websites, Sandy, in the comments, so they'll be on my YouTube channel, my Facebook channels, my personal one, Angry Citizen one. I do back my stuff up onto other platforms like BitChute, so the Dark Overlords can't entirely remove it ever. Not that they would ever do that, but so. Anyone, if you're watching, you want to see what exactly what Sandy's talking about. These two websites are I spent some time last night looking through them. They're very well organized, documented, tells you exactly what to do. And this is the most important thing that we can do as a nation, as we the people, is take action. Because I've said many times, we're in this state because we let it happen. We have all the power. We're like that parent that stands around while the kid tears things off the shelves and they go, what are you going to do, little Johnny? You know, he's very active. No, you need to do something, get involved. And it takes very little effort if we all get involved. The reason that all of us that are doing this are working so hard is because a lot of people just don't want to get involved, and I understand. So what we're going to show you, folks, we're going to show you some lawful solutions. Lawful solutions. That's the phrase you need to remember. And this touches on what Sandy said she was talking about, and we all say this. We're not about criminal activity at all. We don't have to. Okay, the Dark Overlords do that. We act lawfully. We constitutional patriots, constitutional Americans, we act lawfully within the framework of the law. We do not advocate violence. We do not advocate any kind of taking out frustrations against law enforcement authorities. Never. Okay, we are peaceful. We are lawful. And you need to align yourself, because that's how they get you, is they get you agitated. That's what happened to those poor people on January 6th. They got sucked in by the agitators and convinced that they needed to do something that they knew they really shouldn't be doing. So I'm telling you all, don't do it. Don't fall for it. Never go along. As soon as there's a line, America, okay, this is the line. You're lawful, and then you're not. As soon as you throw a brick, a Molotov, assault a police officer, you're a criminal. We exercise our First Amendment right to peaceably assemble and petition our government for a redress of grievances. Clyde?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was at January 6th, and I saw 12 white vans, brand new white vans, drive up. I was just walking up to the Capitol. I would go up there, and then I was at this little road, and I saw these 12 vans, and they stopped like right in front of me, and then all these scraggly, raggedy bunch of people got out of there, putting on Trump hats and running up there, and I thought, you're not the only person that I personally know who has recounted to me exactly what you're talking about, and we're going to be talking about that. You know, I spoke to you about this. I'm going to get all of you together who were there, and we're going to have a very frank conversation about what really happened that day from the mouths of the people that were there. So my point is, don't get drawn in, America. Okay, don't listen to people telling you that we need to take extreme action. We're going to go all 1776 on them. Blah blah blah. No, we act peacefully. We act lawfully. That is critical. So totally peaceful, and we just bring back the knowledge that we have and re-inhabit these positions. And if once people see what we're doing, there's going to be a tipping point, and we're going to go from that 22 million to 200 million. I think very quickly.
Yep. Ananda. Oh, she's muted. There you go. Much better.
I think we're going to hit critical mass very soon. Sandy, I've got a question for you. I saw in one of your recent interviews, you had talked about the flag because the corporation has stolen the flag for the United States of America. Oh, yes. Here we go.
Nice.
Well, I wasn't going to say it until the very end, but Dana.
Oh,
I'm sorry, sir, but you
Please.
have the wrong flag behind you.
Yeah, I've been told. Yeah, I've been told that.
That is so cool. I love the way that looks. That is so beautiful.
To fill in everyone about why that's
tell us
true.
about that, please.
So the corporation hijacked everything. Remember how I was saying that, they took everything from over here and they moved it over there. They took the flag with them. So they hijacked our flag. Well, when you are registering your government in the international system, you have to have a flag. Well, what do you think would have happened to us if we would have grabbed the original Oh my, we all would have been, in shackles or something in some dungeon somewhere. So we had to have our own. So committees, Congress, everything going back to the original documents, the original designs of the flags. All this is documented in the books, and you might want to bring that up, Dana, in the future. But the original 13 colonies flag was 13 stars in a circle, and then the 13 red and white stripes. So they said, well, what if we just kept putting the stars in the circle? What would it look like if we had 50 stars? That's it. So that was what was registered along with our official documents. So in November of 2010, the thing I told you, the Declaration of Sovereign Intent, when that was signed and stamped, everyone's got their thumbprints and their little wax things and all that, just like the old fashioned days. And then a couple of years later, they did the Proclamation of Claim and Interest. And what that does is it says, all these things that the corporation has done are now undone. On behalf of the people, we now take back the land, the air, the water, the minerals, the resources, the whatever, on behalf of the American people and hold it for them until they're ready to take it back. And so that's what these two documents do. It's first the declaration of, who we are, what is the republic, that we're reestablishing the original founding fathers republic. And we're taking back all the stuff that was stolen from us by the corporation. But we had to have our own flag. And so that's part of that package. And then in the 2012 timeframe, that was when the international systems had to be notified according to international law. The United Nations, the International Court of The Hague, the Universal Postal Union, the Joint Chiefs of Staff at the Pentagon, the corporate Joint Chiefs of Staff at the Pentagon, because of course they're all working over there, and a couple other folks, and of course all 50 state governors. And that was what was required, was noticing them. It's not getting accepted or registered or anything. It's noticing them. The one thing that we did differently, because we knew we would be challenged on this, because we knew we were doing it right, was receipts. And those are in a very safe place. So we forced them to give us some sort of a receipt. And so we have receipts for all of those locations. We can prove that all of these places were served.
Excellent.
Really good. Really good. I didn't know that.
So get a better flag, Dana.
Mm-hmm.
I'll work on that at my free time.
That is so cool. I just love that. That just thrills me to no end. I've been flying civil peace flag because I didn't want to use the war flag, and I certainly didn't want to use one that was surrounded by the gold fringe, which we all know symbolizes capture, that the pirates captured us. And it's like, no, they haven't. They're just lying to themselves. They try to keep on lying to all of us too, and we're not buying what they're selling. So I'm just so excited. It's in our blood, isn't it? And then when we come together and we're all on the same page, united in God's divine will, this is the republic. This is the republic, and it is fun. And I feel sad because a lot of people are still in anguish over, the lies that they've been told, the betrayal. And that's a real thing. And I want to definitely remain sensitive to everyone where they're at. But I just want to also reassure the people that we are coming into a very exciting time, because we are going to no longer be oppressed. We are no longer going to be owned. We are jumping out of the slave boat. We are rowing, and we're rowing in unison together for God's highest will, and thy will be done. And it's fabulous. It's fabulous.
Yeah. If I could add one thing here that's really, I think, important to say. With freedom comes responsibility.
Thank you.
And we have the responsibility to rebuild this republic, all of us. That means from the ground up. So we have to be ready to work in our communities to share this knowledge with everybody in our community. And it's going to start from one community to another. I mean, what we're trying to do is, and what has been done really pretty darn well, is the foundation has been laid. But now we actually have to start to talk to our neighbors. And in our judicial meeting the other day, I'm a justice from Florida right now. I'm taking one of those positions. We were talking about the principle of tens. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that or not, but when Moses had all of his people, the Hebrews, come out, and he had everybody there, and it was like 3.5 million people. And he was having a heck of a time organizing everything. And his father-in-law actually suggested, well, what you want to do is organize everyone in 10-unit families. In other words, every 10 families would elect a leader or like a justice to solve problems within the 10 families. And then there were 5 groups of each of the 10 families. So there was the 50 family units and on up to 3 million. And that's how he organized it. And it worked really well. It's called bottom-up government, and it's called, local governance and local responsibility. But I think we need to do either that or something similar to that, to start putting together our government, our new government, our constitutional government within our communities.
Yeah.
And that was, absolutely true. And that was what discussed for those of you who are interested, this amazing piece by my friend Clyde Cleveland called Common Sense Revisited, which I absolutely loved listening to. And I'm really glad that.
We go into that in there.
Yeah. And it's very well written, I think, very articulate. So, and again, I offer the first 3 people that comment that want one of these. I have 3 of them here. I'll send you one for free. So you said a key thing to it, which is that
I still have another case of those, by the way.
Well, okay, good, because you're going to be getting orders now, my friend. Trust me. And my audience of 5 will be on the phone immediately afterward, petitioning me. I'll need more.
Okay.
That's
it takes effort. So we all have to do something. That's what I'm telling people. So take a little bit of your time every day. Most of us that you're seeing here, we take a lot of time every day. So I have a full-time job, a wildly ambitious young man to try to wrangle and manage. Thinks he knows everything there is to know about the universe already at age 7. I like to do a thing for myself here and there sometimes, but most of my time I spend researching, talking to people, making phone calls, answering texts, tracking down claims. I get a lot of claims sent to me by people that they have this thing or that thing, or that a book or a website or a video, and I spend a lot of time because the truth is being hidden. And that's the most important thing that you should be afraid of right now, America, is that if they're lying to you, and our government, we all know they lie. We know they're corrupt. I had no idea when I began this quest how bad it was. I figured it was just bribery, corruptions, scandals. And it turns out, nope, the entire thing is a fraud run by what I truly believe to be bizarre, demonic, Satan-worshiping, evil pieces of shit. Excuse my French. I got a fly buzzing me, which is why I'm doing this. I'm not hallucinating. Fruit flies are plaguing me. Anyway, but it can be fixed, and that's the message you need to get out of this, America. It can be fixed. We have the lawful means available. So I want you all to click on the links. I've put them right in the comments. Go to Sandy's websites, read the information there, decide for yourself if it makes sense or not. Ananda's website is in her title there, so you can go check out americansinaction.info, look at their resources. There's a lot of good stuff there. Okay, yeah. Clyde's website is commonsenserevisited.com. Doesn't have as much as I would like, but it is a good foray into the Common Sense Revisited piece that he did, which I love. So,
yeah, it's quite brilliant. And Clyde, you're the reason why I'm on this path right now. Clyde was the one who told me about becoming a state national and what that looked like. And now I'm a teacher of the law, which is, I mean, truly, like your conversations that you were shedding light on dark areas for me from day one. And I just listened. I don't know why. It was like God was pulling on my heart and saying, you need to listen to this man. And I'm so very, very grateful. So yeah, Common Sense Revisited is worth its weight in gold. And bottoms up government, I always think of it as like an inversion of their pyramid, the way they're, but instead we're at the top of the pyramid and we're also larger in numbers. So it's such a beautiful thing. I wanted to share with you because, you've been talking a lot about taking actions. What actions can we take? That's why we call ourselves Americans in Action. We will have communism if we are Americans in apathy. So our non-action is actually consent. This is how the rogue fake powers that want to be took over, is because we were not filling those seats. And so now, to be an American in action, I want to encourage everyone to visit americansinaction.info and learn, write, law, speak. Read the Constitution. If you don't have the patience to read it, you can go to YouTube and listen to the audio just while you're traveling in your private capacity in your private automobile, when you're managing your carriage. See, we don't want to use wrong law words like driving, and we are actually inhabitants. We're not persons. You start doing a deep dive into their language fraud, because they've stolen not only our flag, but they've stolen a lot of the language that we've used. Like public means something very different in their books than what we think of as we the people. So when we enter into one of their courtrooms and they say, oh, and you say, excuse me, Judge, are you upholding the Constitution? And they answer yes. Well, what Constitution are we talking about? They do not recognize the original first Constitution for the people of America, the Republic. They have a corporate constitution. So we need to get our language straight. And so we do have some study tools there. We have the dictionary that can save your life. We have an affidavit booklet, which teaches affidavit writing. So you can take action and you can notice the agents of the state. You can notice the court, the foreign court. Let me correct that. So if they come knocking on your door and you don't rebut their false claims against you, they will assume that those claims will stand. So it's important and imperative to be an American in action, to rebut all false claims, and remembering that it's united we stand. It's not united we fight, it's united we stand. So each one of us standing, and we develop our standing as we go. It's not necessarily something you have. It's like courage. Sometimes you gain your courage after you go through the fear, right? But this is how we do it. And you put on the full armor of God, and we know that we're not alone. We know that a lot of other people are awake, and more the news is getting out. So sound the alarms and be an American in action and join the Republic. Because it's already here. Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
I want to touch on something that you mentioned there. But before I do, in our audience, we've had a couple of questions, and this is one that's really important. This woman's a friend of mine, Elizabeth, and she's asking a question that it's maybe mildly off topic, but it's a valid question, and I really want to give her some answers from people who know a lot more about this than I do. So she's actually a fierce patriot and has been a friend of mine for many years, and she's looking to run for office. God help her. So her question here is that she's thinking about this. She says, what is my role? And I think I know the answer, but I'm going to go ahead and throw it out to whichever of you wants to jump on first. Sandy's nodding. So you want to take that one, Sandy?
Well, I can start. I'm sure Clyde will have something more to say on it. We are living a lie every day. Everything that we see in the open about our republic, or our government, I'll say, because we haven't had a republic, they pretend like we do. Although you'll hear all the pundits say, we have to save our democracy. We've never been a democracy.
Right.
Well, maybe we are now, because the corporation is a democracy that's about to implode on itself. But everything is a lie. So this so-called election that's coming up on November 5th, corporation. Every single position at every single level of our government, corporation. Down to the dog catchers in the counties. So why would anyone want to run for the corporation? There's not an election. We haven't had an election since like 1860.
Mm-mm.
It's all been fixed, all of it, by whomever. I mean, why did they pick Lincoln? Why didn't they pick someone else to run? So it's just all these things. So Republican Party, Democratic Party,
yeah.
It's all corrupt. It's all fake. It's all corporate. And so in our republic, talk to the hand, corporation. We are not dealing with you at all.
Yeah.
No IRS, no FBI, no nothing. So
I agree 100%. I agree 100% with what Sandy said. I also recommend that you all get these two books, Reinhabited. This is volume 2. These books, once you start to really understand what's going on, I don't think you'll want to waste your time running for office in the corporation. I've been tempted to do that at different times, but it's just, I know, that enough now that it's not going to do any good. This is completely corrupt. You're not going to get anywhere. What we need to do, if you want to run for office, get involved in this reinhabitation of the republic and take an office in your state for the reformed republic. So,
and it costs nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't cost anything. And we have positions to fill in every state, right, Sandy?
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, it's filling up. The positions are filling up fast, but we need to fill positions in every state.
Okay, and where can they get the book, Clyde? Is it Amazon or
Sandy? Can you tell them where to get the book?
Sure. So the authors have a website called Reinhabitedrepublic.com, and they actually have 4 books. But the Reinhabited 2-volume series, those are the primary books. Those are the ones that, volume 1 is the true history of America, going way back, like Magna Carta and, Mayflower Compact and all that kind of stuff. It even goes before that. And it will explain how our founding fathers dug through all the documents and did all their research. And they said, this is the government we want to have. We want to have a constitutional republic. And that's what they came up with. Law of Nations and all the other books. And how we lost the republic. That's the first volume. How we got the republic, where it came from, its historical linkage, and then how we lost it. Volume 2 is how we got it back. That is the reinhabitation, the actual patriots that in the 2000s, what they were doing, how they were teaching constitutional classes, were radio shows and all that. And then the military came and said, we need you to do this. They did it. They saved the country. And then kept building and building and building, and then the takedown, and then now a little bit of the rebuilding. They are in the process now of updating those books, like a second edition or whatever. Not ready yet. So these books are available, and so we go to the website. I believe Thrift Books and Amazon, and there's one other one in there, and I forget. But anyways, you go to the website and you can see. And I would go to all of them and look at what the shipping times are, because like Amazon there for some time was 2 weeks to get your books. It's like, you go to Thrift Books and it's like 3 to 5 days.
I think I got them in a week or so, but
yeah,
I haven't.
So it just depends.
My family hasn't seen me since I got these books because I'm in my
You're
room
riveted.
reading.
Nice.
And they're pretty thick, but
lots of pictures.
Fascinating. Really, very well done.
Good. Okay, so folks, I urge you to, again, research these things for yourself. Don't take anyone's word for it. Don't believe me. Don't believe Clyde. Don't believe Sandy. Don't believe Ananda. Okay, prove us wrong. That's what we always say. That's what the truth speakers say. Here's my claim. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Because the truth is a sort of God, my friends. Look how powerful it is. And that brings me to the subject I want to touch on, because Ananda mentioned it, and a lot of people out there do not know that one of the most powerful lawful tools you have available to you is an affidavit. The affidavit is, for those of you who do not know, and again, I'm dealing with people who are deep into this. My guests are all, black belts in the world of law, so forth. I'm just a lowly brown belt, and I'm trying to sort of cater to the lower belts to get you up to speed with the most important things you can know. And that's one of them, is that you can defend yourself from anything much more effectively if you know how to use an affidavit. So the affidavit is a sworn statement of fact made under penalty of perjury. So I drive to Clyde's house. I run into his garage. Oops, sorry, Clyde, ran into your garage. Little dent there. Don't worry, buddy. I'll take care of it. I leave. Clyde's calling me. Hey, Dana, garage, it's starting to leak, man. And where are you? And you're not returning my calls. And Clyde begins to think, maybe that scurrilous knave's not going to follow through on his promise, not going to help me fix my garage. So he says, okay, you know what? I'm going to take it to the court. What's the first thing Clyde does? He writes me an affidavit. He says, Dana, you came to my house, ran into my garage, told me you'd fix it, left, and now I haven't heard from you again. I'm beginning to think maybe you're not going to pay me the money that you owe me. So here's my sworn statement. You came over, you ran into my garage, you owe me the $500. He sends me that. He gives me time to rebut it. Now, if I don't rebut it, so I have to be very specific and say something like, no, I didn't come to your house, or yeah, I came to your house, but I did not run into your garage. Whatever it is I say, I have to refute his claim in some way. If I don't, and he doesn't hear back from me, then at the end of that period of time, whatever it is, you guys use what, like 14 days, Ananda, as the time to get back to people?
Oh,
roughly?
yeah, it varies. 30 days
Okay.
is actually very generous, but sometimes you need a time crunch. You can do them as quick as 7 days, and I've heard some even do 3 days in an emergency.
Go, folks. So whatever it is, you say you have this much time, you need to rebut, and that person doesn't do it, that document, that claim stands as fact in a court of law. So if Clyde brings me to court to pay him the $500, and the judge says, Mr. Callan, you ran into this man's garage, what he claims, and what do you say about that? And I go, well, I didn't run into his garage. And he says, no, sorry, too late. That ship sailed. This document here says you did. He told you you did. He gave you a chance to rebut it or refute it. You didn't. Therefore, you cannot come to the court with the argument that it didn't happen, because the court says it did. And we're moving on from that point. So it's very powerful. And even if you're dealing with people who are corrupt, when you whip out that affidavit, boy, they take notice. Okay, it's like you're playing chess with someone and you think it's going to be really easy. That's how they are, because you're in their little world. And all of a sudden you start making moves that are really good moves, and they go, ooh, okay, now they're going to take you seriously. And the only tool they have left is naked corruption. Naked, flagrant corruption is the only avenue they have, because otherwise they have to admit that you're telling them the truth. So the affidavit is very powerful, and there's resources, again, on Ananda's website. There's other websites out there that talk about affidavits, and they are a powerful resource for we the people. So get familiar with that. Everyone should be familiar with that as a basic course of defending yourself. Sandy.
So I want to piggyback on that, because in the hundreds to thousands of volunteers that we get all the time on the website, we have folks that write in desperate for help. They've gone through that affidavit system. They've done it exactly by the book, the way they're supposed to. And the courts are running all over them anyway.
Yep.
So we don't actually recommend that you ever go into a court or a jurisdiction where you could be tricked or lied to or thrown in jail or whatever. We say do everything with affidavits. Don't go anywhere near the courts, and just do it by paper. That's a better option. That just keeps you completely clean. And that's the advice of the Republic, is don't even go anywhere near the corporation.
Yeah, we recommend the same thing. We're all on the same page here. Stay out of their courts. Those are foreign courts. Those are foreigners acting as if they're a legitimate government. They are not. They are foreigners. They are actors. They are not a part of the Republic. They do not honor the Constitution. The affidavit is a living testimony, and we don't defend ourselves in the kingdom of heaven. If there's been no crime committed, there's nothing to defend. So what we do is we state a claim, and you state a claim in your affidavit, or you can even write a letter, old-fashioned letter writing. When we state a claim, we want to verify our claim. So facts alone are not enough. We back up our facts with law evidence, our own experience, and that living testimony. And these are the facts. That's it. No, you're not pouring a lot of emotion into it, even though we're emotional beings. You just want to look at the facts, right? And so the reason why I love affidavits is you can notice the corporation to let them know, I know who I am. I'm a child of God. You can let them know you're acting outside of your charter of authority, or ask them, where do you derive your authority? We don't have to have conversations with them, but we also realize that if we don't play, they're just everything they're doing is an offer to contract. They're offering, hey, come play this game with me. Come into my court so we can battle. And then you can take a side, and then I'll be the referee. The judge will be the referee, and then we can watch the gameplay. But you have the right through the Republic. I mean, we have the right to say thank you, but no thank you. I'm opting out. And we can be gentle, we can be loving, but we simply don't want to play. And we can always reserve all rights at any given time. It doesn't matter if you're flying on a commercial flight or shopping at the grocery store or using a debit card. You can retain and reserve your rights at all times by simply doing something as easy as qualifying your signature. All rights reserved. Very elegant. You're retaining your rights no matter what you're doing. So that way we can live and keep the lights on and live our lives while we're reestablishing the Republic, but we're never subjecting ourselves under their foreign jurisdiction. So we're on the same page with that. I love that. And I celebrate that, because that's where a lot of people get hiccups, and they go, oh, well, I have to go in. I have to go in. I'm saying, no, you don't. No, you don't. It's just a trick.
So
I think
what you need to explain to people is that next step. And how do they're going to be using the mail, right? Mm-hmm. So would you go into that? Okay, so what they do, they're not going to go into the courtroom. What are they going to do? Where are they going to go? What are they going to do? Who are they going to send it to? Can you go through that a little bit?
Sure. What I use, I'll just share my experience. What I use is the old-fashioned post office, which is part of our Republic, which Sandy's nodding already. She's just like, yeah, here we go. So I will send an official letter via registered mail. And that registered mail is our old-fashioned post office. Now, remember, these things are housed under the same umbrella. So we have the USPS. USPS is the corporation, United States Postal Service. Notice it says United States. That gives you a clue that's the corporation. And then you also have registered mail is our old-fashioned America for the Republic post office. It's a little bit more money, but it's worth it, because now you have your own court of record, which is official, ordained by the Constitution. Now we're back in American common law, American constitutional law. So I hope that sheds light. And
yeah,
Sandy, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the using the old-fashioned post office.
No, you said everything I was going to say, that people don't. Nice. It's the same thing as tricking us with the words that lawful and legal are the same thing. Lawful is constitutional, common law, biblical law. Legal is maritime law, corporate law, bar attorney law. They're not the same thing. So the same thing with the post office. We're told that it's the U.S. Postal Service. Oh, it's the same thing as the post office. No, it's not. And so you have to do your research again and go learn what is the difference between these two entities, because one is corporate and one is Republic, hijacked and put under the other one. And then we were tricked into thinking, but they can't get rid of it, because by universal postal union law, international law, they're both, that one Republic one is still there. So, yeah.
You've
Sandy, I have to comment. Our life paths are so similar in how what we were doing at the beginning of the scamdemic teaching the people because we had already had a knowing on what the law was and we could see clearly at that time. And the next thing you know, because I watched your video with SG Anon, and it's so good because, and I just went, oh my gosh, our life paths are so similar in that when you saw the need that people needed help to, because people were facing, get a job or lose your job. And then so we started putting on affidavit writing sessions at our local constitutional law center, and people started learning this stuff. And you had a similar experience where people were coming to you and going, can you help us write our exemption? And how do we get out of this? And would you talk on that? Because that is just so outrageous what you went through.
Well, I can, and I'm going to shorten it because, we've got a lot of topics we want to cover, but
sure.
There's zero doubt God put me right at the Air Force Academy at that time. I have no doubt whatsoever. There were no jobs opening while I was working on my Ph.D. And then all of a sudden the job opens like roughly when I'm going to need a job. So I got that job. And then now I'm there during the big C crisis. I call it the scamdemic. And I'm already working off base, off the academy with the nurses, doctors, medical workers that are getting their mandates early. And then we're also trying to get the masks off the kids in the schools in the local area. And I'm already working with an attorney, bar attorney, but Christian man, very good man. He knows that he has to hang on to that title, and if he's going to be able to do any good in the corrupt courts. So I respect him for that. He volunteered. I asked him if he would help and talk to the people and help with these affidavits. And he says, he himself had been praying because he was working on child neglect and custody cases. And he said, God, please, this is tearing my heart to pieces. I need a change. I need a new season. And then this came along and he goes, okay, I got it. And so he jumped on it. So then I learned from him. I'm doing my own research. We're comparing notes. We get this whole package put together. The mandates come down. The students and the cadets are already coming to me because I'm not shy about my beliefs and opinions about things. And they start asking me for help. And then they start talking to their friends and they're like, well, I would like the same help. I had hobbies. I didn't have any more after that because all I did was go to work, prepare my lesson, go home. And for the whole rest of the night, I was answering emails from people around the world in every branch of the military asking for help with these affidavit exemptions, the religious exemptions. And I was also helping with medical exemptions. I didn't have as much knowledge on that, but I had enough to know what the basic rules were. And I'm vaccine damaged from my military career. So I know this stuff. I lived through anthrax and Dovey, Rumsfeld and all that stuff. And I'm watching this happening. I'm going, this is exactly the same thing. Why do they think they can do it again? So of course I'm going to help them. And they're asking me for help. I'm not going to them and saying, you need to do what I'm telling you, but this is what the Air Force is accusing me of. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And so, yeah, it's every academy, every branch of service. Then of course the military around the world, Germany, Italy, England, Japan, Korea. Those are the ones that pop into my head right away. Folks that are stationed overseas because this word just got out. And so that was what I ended up doing for
Wow.
oh gosh, several months when the mandates first came down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you have something you want to say, Clyde? You were raising your hand a little earlier, so.
No, that's just amazing. I didn't realize that you had gone that far with working with the exemptions. I thought it was just mostly at the Air Force Academy.
I was fired for it.
You saved a lot of people's lives. There's no.
Well, they saved their own lives because I offered the information. I said, here's the regulation. Here's what it says. If you believe this, because abortion is used in all of the testing and development for all the shots, then you qualify for a religious exemption. And I had some say, well, I can't honestly say that. So I guess I'm not going to go through with it. And I guess I got to get the shots.
Oh,
Nothing I could say
Yeah.
because it's not my place. And then I had the ones that says I am absolutely against abortion. That is one of my prime, religious tenets. And I said, well, then you qualify, and will you help me? Well, of course I will. Here's the regulation. Here's like a sample letter of what you do to give to your supervisor, start the process. And that's what I ended up doing with all of my spare time for several months. Then I was given the order, I guess, to stop mentoring and counseling students about COVID and the mandates. Okay, so I know what mentoring and counseling is. That's like, should I take the harder math class or the easier math class? Should I, that's mentoring and counseling. What they were ordering me to do was to stop helping someone with their rights under the law in due process. That is called a protected activity. And I knew this.
Solid
and I'm
truth.
like, so there was my decision point, right? So I'm given this order. I actually did kind of follow it a little bit. I told the students what I was told, and I says, your supervisors now should be helping you, whereas before they weren't. And so I said, go talk to them and see what they say. And they said, they're still saying the same thing. I'm like, okay, I'm back in. That was the decision I had to make, that I could have just shut it down and not helped anymore. But I said, no, that's not the right thing to do.
And
so,
good for you. And thank you for on behalf of a very grateful public, those of us that are aware of what's going on. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there that are still not aware. And if you have not noticed, and I don't know, America, if you're aware of this or not, but they are trying to recycle this scamdemic. Yeah. And once again, talking about masking and talking about the latest strain. And now they're talking about monkeypox and,
moneypox.
Moneypox.
The K is silent. Moneypox.
Yeah.
It's just ludicrous. So, and the truth bears scrutiny, as I've said many times. All you have to do is do your research. And people say, I love the phrase, I trust doctors. I say, oh, you trust doctors? Well, which ones?
Right.
And now you're off in a hole because they don't know. They have no idea. They just trust the television. And the television is not a good way to learn the truth about what's going on in the universe, folks. You got to dig. The truth is not going to come right up in front of you. That's why I highly recommend The Flame. I lost my paper here. There it is. You want to know the truth? Read this. The Flame. Go to theflameusa.com. Subscribe. It's $2.99 or $1.99 for a digital subscription. It's the best money you'll ever spend. So moving forward, what I'd like to ask you, Sandy, at this point is, let's envision, if we could, a really positive, relatively soon outcome. What do you see that like? What's that going to be for us?
So we don't have the actual plan from the military, but I can put my military hat on and I can say, this is what I think is probably going to happen. All right. So we're clear there. This is not like set in stone or anything like that. I'm no insider info. This is just Sandy thinking through this whole situation.
Okay.
Either the corporation implodes like we're all expecting it to do any day now on its own before November 5th, or the military steps in because they have now done something really egregious. And they say, okay, you're done. No more. And they remove the corporation at every level. Mm-hmm. Well, the military absolutely will never act as a military coup or military junta, because they would be violating their oath to the Constitution, the real one, the one that we all think we've taken the oath to, because that's what I thought I was taking an oath to, was the real one, not the fake corporation one.
Right.
And so that's the before November 5th scenario, in which case we don't have a corporate election on November 5th because there's no more corporation. So that one just goes away. The Republic has been identified as the lawful civil authority over the military, so that the military can act lawfully and constitutionally when needed. So we can envision martial law. So we just had practice with the lockdowns. As much as we hated them, they're gonna kind of like be, well, remember when we did that other stuff? Oh yeah, okay, we can just do that for a couple days to a week. until they get everything under control. Everyone gets into the routine. And so that's going to be the most difficult time on many levels, because the folks that don't believe what I'm saying are going to be absolutely besides themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They are not going to know what to do, what to think, what to believe, because their entire world has been shattered.
Right.
As if they were watching the television and someone just punched right through it, and all of a sudden you open up and it's some other country behind the television. And you're like, what? They don't get it. So I don't know what's going to happen to those people, but that's where we, the awake people, need to be kind and helpful as much as we can and help them through that difficult time. We're all going to need to have emergency supplies. So think of your hurricane, earthquake kind of scenario and have at least a week's worth, if not more, of food, water, supplies to get through that initial stage, because there'll be no one on the roads except 911 folks and utility workers and the military. And that'll be it. And then eventually it'll go down a level, right? So it won't be like strict martial law. It'll like martial law light, you know? And so then, okay, now if you have an odd numbered address, you're allowed out for this number of hours. The stores will be open, the gas stations will be open, and you can go get whatever supplies you need. That's it, go home. And then there'll be some sort of a rotation so that everyone can get the things that they need. That'll go on for quite a while. The cities will be a whole other story, because as we know, we've got a lot of illegal people that are in those cities that are already taking over apartment complexes and shaking down the residents, who are in most cases elderly people. So we've got a lot of problems with that. That is going to be a very difficult thing to manage. Country, it'll probably be quick martial law, because we're already pretty much law-abiding citizens taking care of ourselves. That's the whole point of the Republic, is that leave me alone, manage the country, protect my borders, and everything's fine. So instant closure of the border, instant. Anyone who doesn't obey, well, anyone who's committed a crime doesn't even get the chance to swear an allegiance to the Republic. They're gone. So it'll be a real interesting time to see where we put these people. Well, they had built FEMA camps for us. They, the bad guys, had built FEMA camps for us, the patriots, to re-educate us into their way of, being cabal and evil. Well, guess what? Thank you for building those, because we're going to be using them for the opposite reason, and hopefully to re-educate them to the truth. So there'll be a lot of that. The Republic will be stood up. I am currently the interim governor of Texas in the Republic, I'm not Abbott, of course. And he'll be gone. Everyone else will be gone. There'll be no one there. And so then we will be in charge of whatever our positions are, the House representative, the senator, the governor, the whatever. And so that is how the military will be able to act lawfully in doing all the things that they are already prepared to do. And we think they're watching the Republic very closely right now, and this huge influx of people. Maybe they were responsible for reducing the shadow banning enough for the message to start getting out like it is now. And so they're watching to see, when are we ready? And that's what I'm hoping everyone that's listening to this will at least sign up on the website and say that you will support your Republic, that you want your Republic back. And then if God puts it on your heart to take one of these open positions, we have open positions in every state, fewer in some states than others. I got this little tiny state called Texas with only 254 counties. And every single one of them needs a clerk and a judge. So we have to do that in all the counties. Now, we're not going to probably get there by the time the military is ready to act, because we think they're ready now and they're waiting for us. So That's what I think is going to happen.
Wow. So
do you want to know the final story in that?
Oh, please.
So the whole job of the Republic at that point, of course, is being the civil authority, but our number one priority is going to be free and fair elections within 120 days of us being stood up.
Good.
Well, we are within 100 days of the November 5th election, so that one's out. That's not enough time. So 120 days is like right before Christmas. Yeah, we can maybe do that if they flip the switch tomorrow, for instance, or next Friday or whatever. And so what is free and fair? Zero machines.
Yes.
I don't care who's pushing what freaking technology that's connected to quantum, whatever.
Yeah.
You can shove it.
Yeah.
I want paper. I want a yellow piece of paper for the president. I want a pink piece of paper for the House. I want a green piece of paper for the Senate, whatever it is. And you put the little names on it, and I check one box, and that goes in a pile. And I can see who's winning because I can see the piles. Or I can weigh it, and I can say, okay, plus or minus one vote, that's what's in that pile. I'm not doing it any other way. I won't accept it any other way. And I think everybody listening to this won't accept it any other way.
Agreed.
Once we've counted those votes the same day, no absentee ballots.
Yep.
You have to go to the voting place.
Yes.
Legitimate ID.
Yes.
Not a bus pass.
Yep.
Right. So it'll be, well, before that, the county clerks will have to pretty much just dump the voter roll. You know, you can use it as a guide, but whoever is, and I'm going to use the right terms here, whoever is an American citizen with some proof, in this case, the fraudulent birth certificates are going to come in handy because that's the thing we've got.
Right. Right.
Or naturalization certificates, or, you know, whatever it is for the folks that weren't born here but became lawful citizens, and proof of residence. So utility bill,
right,
you know, something along those lines. You take both of those maybe after about 30 days, and they recreate the voter rolls from scratch. That's the first priority. And then we've got constitutional conventions in the states to get the Constitution ratified by the people, re-ratified. We're going to go back to 1860, guys, because everything after that was fraud. So that's the plan. And then once the Republic is established, we have this election. The new people come in. We have a little handshake. Okay, I'm not the governor anymore. This person that just got elected is. Then we can start having our debates, our committees, our whatevers, and say, let's do an amendment for term limits, or let's do fill in the blank.
Right.
And that's where we bring everything up to speed from 1860 to the modern time. What do we need and want by the people, for the people? So
fantastic. Wow. Yeah. That's very powerful. And I certainly would urge, again, all of you watching, to research everything that you've seen here. You know, don't take our word for anything. Read. I put the links to Sandy's websites in the comments, so you can go there. You can read it. I put Ananda's link in the comments. You can go to americansin.action.info, read what they're telling you. I mean, we all are saying the information we're providing to you can be verified. We're not just saying take my word for it and don't listen to those other people when they disagree with us because they're liars. And you can trust us because we tell you you can trust us, which is something that the mainstream media always says. We're the most trusted news source. Are you really? Yeah. Because trust me when I tell you, they are not. They lie through their teeth. They distort. They misrepresent. They're telling you Kamala Harris is as popular as Donald Trump. That is what you're being asked to believe.
Did
America.
You see the picture of her? That's like Air Force Two, and it's got the shiny belly, so you can see whatever's in the front of the plane.
The reflection in the plane does not show the crowd.
In the reflection, but there's all these fake people.
There's a huge crowd.
Well, there was a couple guys with 3 eyes in the crowd.
I wouldn't be surprised. I'm sorry to say
I'm
that
serious. They were
but
showing. You could see it.
I haven't looked, but I believe I'm not prepared to say you're wrong because, you know, we don't know what we know until we know it, America. And that's why I've arrived where I am, and all of us have. I took a dive into this, and that's when I met Ananda and I met Clyde and started researching this. And again, I was looking at level 1 fraud, waste, corruption, bribery, and instead it's level 15 cold-blooded murder, usurpation of authority without a proper means of doing so, or authority to do it. I mean, you can't give authority if you don't have authority. That's what our government does. They created all these organizations. They have no lawful authority. And here in Maine, our lobster industry is under heavy fire. And this has been a crusade of mine, even though I'm not a lobsterman, okay, because it's our way of life. And these people in Maine know how to fish for lobster. They don't need a federal agency to come here and tell them how to do this. They've been doing it for generations. Okay, some of these guys have permits with numbers in the single digits. And that gives you some idea how long they've been doing this. Okay, and along comes corporate America and starts telling us that you need to follow these regulations and we have to use special rope because supposedly there are right whales washing up in droves, completely tangled up in head to foot in Maine lobster gear. Okay, which is a giant crock, excuse my French, of shit. It's bullshit. And these guys are having to jump through all kinds of hoops to be able to ply their trade. And I said right on day one, you can see me in my interview and say this, if I were the governor of Maine, here's what I would say to all federal agents and agencies. You come to my state, you interfere with my people, okay, we the people of Maine, in their lawful pursuit of making a living, I will direct the local sheriff to throw you in jail. And I am not messing around. I'm dead serious. You step foot in Maine, you harass my people, boom, you're gonna see the inside of a jail cell, because the sheriffs of Maine are the supreme law enforcement authorities in their counties. And they have the ability to arrest anyone, especially in my book, so-called agents. I defy you. I decry you. You have no lawful authority. And that's what you need to learn, America. Do not accept that someone has authority. A person with a badge or a uniform, talking fancy language, with a diploma with Latin on it, whatever, tells you, you need to do this, you need to do that, and we're going to fine you, and we're going to throw you in jail, blah, blah, blah. The very first thing you say is, number one, who are you? Who are you? Number two, what lawful authority do you have? By what authority do you come to me and threaten me and direct me and give me orders? I don't recognize any authority unless you prove it, that you have it, and that it's lawful authority. Otherwise, you have none. That's the simplest way to put it. So learn your rights, know your rights, read your Constitution, read your state Constitution. Here in Maine, we just had supposedly a 3-day waiting period imposed upon us to buy weapons. Well, guess what? A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
That's right.
Period. And in Maine, in our Constitution, it says that right shall never be questioned. And that's the law of the land, folks. So all those laws that they're using that are their excuse to harass us literally don't exist. That's the naked truth. So prove me wrong. So on a closing, I want to once again urge all of you to go to Sandy's websites, go to Ananda's website, go to Clyde's website. We've listed these in the comments. Read the information there. I still have 3 copies of Common Sense Revisited here. I'm going to give these out to the first 3 people that reach out to me and ask me to send them one. And I'm going to tell you that the interview I saw you and Sandy with S.G. Anand was just fantastic. I was truly, afterward, I even thought to myself, because when you and I spoke on the phone, I said, what are we going to cover? And you said, well, I'll usually give kind of a presentation of the stuff that basically I was already said. And I said, I don't think that needs to be done. This is absolutely fantastic. You did a great job of talking about yourself and your background and how you got where you are. And so I urge everyone watching us to please click on that. Go to, it's a Rumble link, SG Anand. It's a fantastic interview. It's well worth watching, and it provides you with all. It's like you're seeing chapter 2 of a book, or you're seeing book 2 in a series right now. You need to go back and read the first book to know how we got here and how the characters got where they are. So, having said that, I'd like to solicit my 2 guests, Ananda and Clyde. If you have any closing thoughts that you would like to throw out here for us. Uh-oh, and he's frozen. Bye, Clyde.
Yeah. So
that's a great pose. I'm gonna get a photo of that. Oh, it's too late. Oh, he's back. Okay.
So just so everybody knows that's watching, you just have to hit where it says comments to see everything that Dana is talking about. So
they don't see that. They're on social media. They're on Facebook and YouTube, and the comments show up below the videos.
It all shows up?
Yeah, you're seeing StreamYard.
Okay. I don't see commonsenserevisited.com on here, but
all right, hang on.
You got it on there? And
I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I
don't think it is. But if people go there, all you have to do to read my book is click on the cover of Common Sense Revisited, the book, and it opens up into a PDF file. Okay, so you don't have to buy it. You can just read it right online.
My computer E key now, every time I hit the E key on my computer, it puts 2 E's in. So I have to try this again. I go through so many computers. Common Sense Revisited. Common Sense Revisited.com. There you go. That's a clickable link for you.
Thank you.
America. It's
There it is.
absolutely worth watching. I'm telling you, it's great stuff. So, Ananda?
It's been an absolute honor. I feel so privileged to be a part of this like-minded, like-hearted group and your listeners. And I mean, my heart is aflutter. I felt the spiritual tingles as Sandy was talking, and you could just feel the truth of the facts of the matter of what's happening. This is it. If you've been wondering and you're watching this, dig deeper, learn more, get involved, take action. And just, I'm so grateful. Thank you, Dana. And I'm just so happy and honored to know you, to work with you. And I'm so glad you've been holding the light for all these years for the many. And you're a true warrior of the light. And so I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. So I am deeply honored to have hosted this roundtable with you three amazing patriots. I'm so incredibly grateful that we seem to be coming together. You know, I started this so-called movement years ago and attempting, mostly in vain, to just get people to wake up and get involved. And it almost doesn't matter what you do, even though there's a lot of false paths. Okay, and that's what I ran into early on. Was there are false prophets, false paths all over the place. People are going to tell you this is the solution. Go here, do this. And I could name a few, but I don't want to start any controversies. But there were a couple very conspicuous liars, and there's a couple people out there that are representing themselves as being real warriors, and they're go-getting and blah blah blah. But every time I get involved with them, everything slows to a crawl, and they just don't really seem to be helping a lot. They talk a big game, but they don't actually do a lot, and you really feel like you're kind of spinning your wheels a lot, and that tells you something. And those people are there because they're there to oppose us, because the dark overlords do not want themselves to be held accountable, of course, and we're close to seeing it happen. That's the truth. Lawful remedies are going to be applied, and people who have committed crimes, whatever their role may have been, governors, senators, congressmen, they're not immune to the law. I had people I work with were freaking out when Donald Trump's immunity was upheld in the courts, and I tried to explain to them what this means. It doesn't mean he can kill people and get away with it. That's not how it works. It's a necessary component of being the president, and that having that level of power and authority, that you have limited immunity under certain circumstances to prevent various things, including for you just to be harassed. You could have people just bringing you lawsuits for no reason, just because they don't like you, which, guess what? That's exactly what's happening to Donald Trump. Yeah. So the justice that we're all seeking can be attained. But the thing that's most important, and that all of us here have told you, America, is that you need to get involved. And that means being smart, research, know your rights, know history, know the Constitution, admit when you don't know something, and read things for yourself. Don't take the word of the television, especially. Okay, the television is not your friend. They're completely owned. They're Operation Mockingbird. Look that up. It's terrifying. The dark overlords own the TV. They own the stations. They own the movie theaters. And they're the ones that are providing you with the voice of Sauron. Propaganda, lies. I call it the ministry of propaganda. And that's exactly what they are. Don't believe them. Research for yourself. Think for yourself. So,
one last thing I'd like to add to that, Dana.
Clyde?
You have to understand that these people think of us as insects. They think of us as insects, yes. Livestock to be managed, killed, what's the word, culled. And so, that's how they see us. So just think of that, and how disgusting that is, but that's how they look at us. So keep that in mind as you're, motivating yourself to start restoring this republic.
Well said.
Thank you.
Sandy?
The last thought I'd like to leave everybody with is the Constitution does not give us our rights.
Thank
God
you.
gave us our rights. These are God-given rights. If you don't stand up for yourself and your rights, you don't have them.
Thank you.
Constitution protects our God-given rights when it's followed. So don't let anyone take those away from you.
Thank you.
And don't let anyone talk you into anything other than what we're talking about. Because I know right now there's some weird stuff going on out there where we have, black hats. We hear about this. That's the cabal, the bad guys. That's easy. The corporation. White hats, which are supporting the Republic. And then now there seems to be this new group called gray hats.
Yeah.
That is like, oh, let's have a hybrid between a Republic and a corporation. Are you kidding me? How long do you think that's going to last before we end up right back where we were?
Right.
Yeah. Well said.
I won't accept that. It's either, we have the Republic or we don't. This is our last chance, guys.
I second that motion. That's powerful what you just said. That is what's called being double-minded, and we cannot serve two masters. You're either with the side of the light or you're not. That's it.
Yeah.
You're for freedom and true sovereignty under a sovereign God. We are sovereign people in a sovereign nation. That's it. Or you're against it. And if you're against it, you're going to sink in a sea of your own shit and your own ill will. That's it. It's so simple.
Well, that's how we got here in the first place.
Laugh. It is a serious
awesome.
topic, but we have to laugh a little along the way.
Sometimes you got to let that shit out. Anyway.
And it's critical that we work together. There may be people that you don't quite like in your different conference that you're in, and there might be, and there's things that, I don't disagree with people on exactly what I want this all to look like, but we can't do that now. We all have to work together and get this Constitution and this country re-inhabited properly now.
Sandy?
Now.
And that's the call that the Republic is making to all people and groups and organizations out there. You may not agree 100% with what the Republic for the United States of America, this group that I'm talking about,
right?
What this government stands for, you may not be 100% with us. But if you're 95% with us, 90% with us, can we get this garbage out?
Right.
Put the Republic back.
And then we can discuss.
Then argue about all the little things.
Exactly.
Please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So let's please think about it that way.
That's that's a very good notion to end on.
Beautiful. And it's exactly what I'm so incredibly pleased to see this happening, because this is literally what I've been trying to do for years, is to tell people, stop arguing about stupid things. Who cares how far from the curb you're allowed to park? Let's not argue about that. Let's put that one on the table. Instead, let's talk about how do we hold all these elected servants accountable for their fraud, waste, corruption, treachery, and make sure that we fix it. Because then we can argue about tiny little things like how far from the curb you're allowed to park, or whether or not you should be allowed to buy alcohol when you're 18 or 21. We got to stop fighting about the stuff that we don't agree on, and agree that can wait, and talk about the things on which we do agree, which are, in my opinion, you're going to talk about 99% of America wants to live in a constitutional republic. We don't want to live in a communist regime. We don't like tyranny. We don't like a structure where there's a powerful overlord with enforcers that then inflict their will on the people, and the people must do what they're told, or face the whip and the lash or the guillotine. We want to live in a society where we have a constitutional republic and a government by the people for the people. And I guarantee you, out of 100 people you meet on the street, you may find one that likes the totalitarian engine, because they're probably part of it. They'll be an agent or an enforcer, so they're feeling pretty good about it. But you'll be a peasant, and you'll have to just do what you're told or face harsh repercussions. I'm not going to do it, and that's why I do this. I do it for my children, my granddaughters. I'll be damned if I'm going to leave this place as a communist regime, not on my watch. And if I can get enough people stirred up to jump on with me and share that sentiment and take action And that's one of the things I really enjoy doing, is bringing awareness to people like Sandy, who have an organization or a movement that will create progress toward that. If we fuel it, it requires time, energy, and action. So go to the website, read it, watch the interview, think about it. If you are a man or woman of God, pray about it. Okay, I am not a Christian per se, but I am a man of God. I'm a living, breathing son of God, and I do the things that men of God do. I speak the truth. I protect the innocents. I recognize that your rights are mine, and mine are yours. If I sit by and I watch you have your rights taken away from you, then it can happen to me. And I will never do that. I will, even if I don't like you personally. And as Clyde mentioned, I've met a lot of people in this movement. Some of them I butt heads with. Sometimes I'm a little crabby. I know that's hard to get your head around, but sometimes I'm a little crabby, maybe sarcastic. I'm very blunt. I put people off, but I'm still working with a lot of them, and I'll continue. Even here in Maine, that's what I'm facing. A lot of people in Maine, they won't talk to me at all. Groups in Maine. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because it's the only way to achieve success, and I think we all want that.
So let's remind everybody one more time to please send out the link of Sandy's SG
interview
video, and to send out this video to everyone that they can.
Absolutely.
As well.
Yeah,
Okay?
please do, everyone, share this if you know anyone that you think might benefit from it. And something I was just watching another video, and I don't even remember who it was talking, but he had something I think very important to say that I want to leave off with, which is that, when we speak the truth, we risk offending people. Mm-hmm. I've lost a lot of friends. When the scamdemic started and I started asking very dangerous questions, show me this plague exists. I want you to show me. I want the proof. If it's that obvious, it should be pretty easy to prove it, right? Show me it causes disease. Show me it's contagious. Show me it can kill you. If you can't show me those things, then I think you're lying. The truth bears scrutiny. And when you talk to people that are totally sold on our corrupt government and how great Kamala Harris is and what a wonderful President Joe Biden is and all this good stuff, you start telling them the truth, they're not going to like you very much. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, some, maybe most, I don't know. But your choice is speak the truth or not. You speak it, you're going to get kickback, pushback. Some people will stop. I've lost friends. I've had friends that I had since high school who summarily dismissed me from their lives and now refuse to talk to me because I asked important, potentially dangerous questions. Well, that's the price you're going to pay, folks. Speak it. Speak the truth. Share it. If they stop talking to you, then so be it. Because if you're not telling them, you're not at least trying to get through to these people, then it may be that someone out there would listen to you. Right. And they won't, because you don't speak, because you don't dare to speak, because you're afraid you'll offend people or afraid you'll lose friends. Don't let that stop you, America. Speak the truth. You have a right to. It's one of the reasons our founding fathers wrote the First Amendment, to give us freedom of speech so that I can tell you my opinions. And maybe I do think the moon is made of spaghetti. And I can say it. I think the moon is made of spaghetti. And you might say, I disagree with you. And let's do some research and see if we can figure out the truth of it. And at the end of the day, maybe we'll agree to disagree. The moon may be made of spaghetti, maybe not. But at least we'll have an honest conversation about it. Don't believe the mainstream media. Believe me when I tell you they are as corrupt as they can be, and they are not presenting you with the truth. And again, the truth is a sort of God. So learn, read, research, find out the truth, take action, whatever action you can. And eventually enough of us will be pushing in the right direction that we will see progress. I'm confident that we will. So on that note,
thank you, Dana.
Thank you so much.
You did a great job of hosting.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
All right.
God bless you. God bless you. God bless you, Ananda.
God
bless you, Sandy. And I am Dana, the Angry Citizen, signing off for tonight. God bless America in this very dark time. And America, let's work together. Let's fix it. Let's make it right. And our children and grandchildren will be able to enjoy the benefit of that. So until next time, I'm Dana, the Angry Citizen, and signing off. Till next time.
Thank you, Dana.